we got to just go ahead and address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about it for quite some time off camera. And I told you that when we dropped our first episode, there were so many comments that came in about this debate with Wes Huff.
Yeah.
So we just going to go ahead and get it out the way right now. You had a debate with Wes Huff.
Yeah.
And it created quite the stir, quite the controversy. But you learned a lot from that moment in time. I want you to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I learned a lot from that situation. First of all, the thing that I did learn was when you're not feeling your best, don't get involved in things, specifically dealing with business. I learned to watch who's in your inner circle because I was actually betrayed by somebody that I actually thought was a close friend. Turned out to be the person who was plotting against me the whole time to put me in a very uncomfortable situation. And he chose one of my weakest hours to do it, just trying to recover from pneumonia, just being fresh out of the hospital. So I learned that, people can be so close to you, and you just have to be able to discern better who is in your inner circle. That's one thing I definitely learned from that. And then I also learned, I came to the realization, believe it or not, people probably won't believe this, that I am a public figure.
You did not know this beforehand. I mean,
No.
over 8 million,
No.
10 million followers across all platforms.
I knew
over
I was
1 billion
popular.
Views.
I knew I was popular. I knew people everywhere I go, people recognize me everywhere. But it didn't really settle in until this happened, when it went mainstream. Then I was like, oh, this went mainstream. Like, I really am a public figure. I'm not just in the conscious community famous.
Yeah.
I'm global famous. I'm mainstream famous. And one person was allowed, or I allowed one person to capitalize off of my name to try to catapult themselves off of clout chasing to a certain level of fame, which they did, but they crashed already. But I did learn, like, wow, so when you're in that level of exposure, you also have to watch what you do, what you say, where you go, how you respond to things. I learned about responding. My initial response wasn't that good. My initial response was very pompous and a little aggressive, verbally aggressive. And so my initial response to the whole situation, which I ended up deleting, it just wasn't a good response. But I did learn a lot. Then I also learned about being prepared, because what I learned from school when I was on a debate team, this is why I said that this wasn't really a debate. I was never told that this was a debate. I was told that I was going to come. I have the messages. It said, you're going to come hang out, and we're going to talk about the difference between spirituality and religion.
Because the host of the show that you all went on, both you and Wes, this was a friend of yours. You all lived in the same neighborhood. Your kids played together. Your wives hung out. All of that.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, they did. It was, this guy I thought was a close guy, but come to find out, he had been plotting on doing this for quite some time. And now, as I replayed in my mind, several messages he sent me about wanting to talk about some of the stuff he saw in some of my clips, just himself supposedly. It all came rushing back, and I realized that he was really against everything that I believed in, and that he was he was into this apologetic Christian stuff, which is okay. I mean, listen, his wife is a Muslim. I love everybody.
Right. He said that during the debate.
Yeah, I love everybody.
That his wife is a Muslim. Yeah.
But I just little more things that he added on, like that I came to his house and banged on his door and scared his daughters.
2:30 in the morning.
I rang his doorbell, and I have the recording of me ringing his doorbell, not only on my phone, and where I state the time, the place, the location I'm at. He released a Ring doorbell video, which shows me ringing the doorbell with a piece of paper in my hand that had a typed note, which was a note saying I don't consent to using any of the footage. And then my car also records everything like it's not a Tesla, but it records like a Tesla. It's a Mercedes S Class. It records everything. So because the car was there, it recording me standing there ringing the doorbell, which I have a copy of that video as well. So nobody banged on a door like a crazy madman. I didn't go driving through sleet and snow through the night to get to his house. I literally went around the corner. We're neighbors. It's a 1.5 minute walk to his house. I drove because I was sick with pneumonia, and I didn't have enough energy, so I drove around the corner instead of walking. But it was just to say, and there was never a lawsuit. It was a cease and desist. Nobody ever tried to sue anybody. It was a cease and desist that said, I do not consent to using my image and my likeness. And I didn't think it was professional the way it was done and the way that it was contrived and set up in the ambush. and the word salad that was used. When I did debating in school, you learn the first thing you learn in debating is, number one, you prepare for a debate. Now, this guy had prepared for me for over a year because I went to his account and saw all these videos, probably damn near 100 videos about me.
Were you aware of who he was?
No clue.
And what his stance was prior to getting on the
Never
live?
seen this guy, never heard of him, had no clue who this guy was. If I did, and when I saw his face pop up on this virtual screen, I would have just walked out because I would have realized right away this was some bull crap, but I didn't know who he was. And so what you learn what a debate is, and the first thing you learn in debate class is that debating is not about who's telling the truth or who's right or wrong. That's irrelevant in a debate. It means nothing. Debates are not about who's right and wrong. This is where people's misconception about what debating is all about. Debating is all about who can win an argument, okay? And so in that particular case, he actually he appeared to have won the argument. He won the argument because he stood his ground in a way that made it seem like I was uncertain of myself. And I did become uncertain of myself, actually. But then later on to find out that everything that I said was actually 100% accurate. And this was verified through actual academics that really got pissed off at what he had been doing and saying he was a PhD. He's not a PhD. He even told Joe Rogan he was a PhD. He's not a PhD. He's studying to try to get a PhD, but he's got many years to go. Who's to say he'll ever even get it?
Well, there were a few moments in watching this, and we're not going to delve into this the entire interview.
Yeah.
So we know this, but there were a few moments in the debate where some of the texts that you made mention of were discredited as though those were forged texts, known forged texts.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Well, they came with their pre-set up questions, which should have gave me the red flag that this was already pre-planned. And they wanted to pick apart things that I had said about the Sinai Bible, the Codex Sinaiticus, and where there's no apparent crucifixion. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't believe that Jesus was or wasn't crucified. You see how things, before I get into it deeper, how things can be taken out of context? There's no context into my understanding of my personal belief about Jesus being crucified or not. In a podcast prior, I had mentioned, they were asking me about these things, and I had mentioned that there's different possibilities that may even exist. I mean, like the Sinai Bible, for example, and the Codex Sinaiticus. It's quite possible that Jesus was never crucified because this text is 14,400 mistranslations or different versions of the translation between that and the Bible, the King James Bible. And then on top of that, there appears to be no crucifixion. And so he tried to trip me up on that. And he said he had a book on his shelf that's got it right in there, but he never pulled the book out and opened it. Meanwhile, I found out that particular version of the story doesn't have the crucifixion in it. And according to real academics, a doctor and also a PhD, real academics who teach this stuff, they contacted me and they actually made their own video showing the record that he was saying had the crucifixion in it. And they contacted him and said, hey, there's no crucifixion here. Why'd you make that up? And he told them, well, there's another text that's around the same period that has a verse around the same size as the empty space that would fit into the Codex Sinaiticus. Well, how come you didn't say that in the debate then, you see? So, again, I was right. And then also when he tripped me up with that, I said, well, maybe I was talking about the gospel maybe I was talking about Barnabas, right? Gospel of Barnabas. And then that's when he tried to say, well, that was a forgery because they found that there was a mistake in one letter or something, and you can see it was copied back. Well, but yeah, it was a copy back according to the PhDs and the doctors and an archdeacon from the church. They said that, yeah, but it's copied from an actual documented record. He never brought that up in the debate. He didn't say to you, well, yeah, that might be a copy, but it's a copy from something that actually was original.
Yeah.
He just led everyone to believe that there was a copy that didn't, like a forged, just fabrication.
If that blessed you, trust me, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more wisdom, truth, and transformation waiting in the full conversation. Click the link in the caption below to watch the entire interview, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Vault Empowers Talks.